A very good Wednesday to all of you. I hope that the week has started off well and that as assignments get done and content gets delivered, that you're feeling like you're hitting your stride as we move toward the latter part of the week. As we start today, I want you to tell me, please, about the beginning of the Renaissance. How did it come to be, and what did the word Renaissance mean? Connected there also, I'd like you to tell me about the beginning of Venice. What happened? So again, that's not pick one or the other. I'd like you to do both. Tell me about the start for the city-state of Venice. Well, even as we were wrapping up on Monday, we talked about the street fighting, the contest or conflict rather between the Guelphs and the Ghibellines, the conflict between those that supported the Pope and those that supported the Emperor. We're going to see this now being a huge push that's going to bring a lot of fighting to the streets of Florence. So whereas Venice had been more of a peaceful place, obviously now we're going to see a lot more conflict and tension happening within Florence. However, as we think about kind of the daily life and even the upper class of Florence, we talked about the Golden Book in Venice, but the main thing that's going to bring about wealth in Florence is going to be harvesting of wool. As you think about sheep, I don't know if any of you guys have gone to wool farms or again where they have sheep and you see them shear the sheep. It's kind of a sad or pitiful sight to see those sheep shivering after they're done getting a haircut. It's a very interesting thing. But the wool that was going to be taken from the sheep would be used to make tapestries, make clothes, and because of that, you're going to see a lot of money being made through the harvesting of wool. Now, as people would have these sheep, you're going to see those that own the sheep and the merchants that are dealing in wool trying to now get the majority or at least more power than others. But even in the midst of the struggle, it's not only about their own star, they're also trying to help improve the city. Now, there's probably going to be some selfish motivations, some opportunities for them for self-advancement, but it is about improving the city-state of Florence as well. They're hopeful that even in making a lot of money, then they could turn that around and give that back to God. As a result, even by giving it back to the Lord, they believe that there ought to be cathedrals and churches that would be built wherein God could be honored. And this would be an opportunity for them to get God's favor, even by giving money and their income back to the Lord through building of churches. They believe that they could hopefully gain his favor. Like we talked about a little bit as we think about the wealthy of the of the Renaissance, they're going to now hire those that would be considered to be the best artists. And as a incentive, they would say, hey, look, you can do more. If you do more, this is what could be available to you. Money that would be now increased because of an artist's improvement in their work. Because as the artist would improve, so too would the sponsor. So too with the patron. Again, that's another name for sponsor. There would be a higher respect for them. So as we think about their improvement, they would definitely push them to be the best. Now there's going to be 4 different classes in Florence. We're going to see at the top the nobility. These are the people that are kind of the old money. These are the people that are living in castles. They're still bound by the code of chivalry, and a lot of them despise and loathe those that have made money from the merchandise that's coming through Florence. They feel like that's ill-gotten gain, that they don't really get what it is to be wealthy, and because of that, there's going to be a significant dislike and hatred for those people. The second group would be the wealthy merchants. Those are people that we've talked about dealing in wool, the ones that have, this is more like new money. So whereas the nobles would be old money, this is going to be new money, more recent to wealth. And these are individuals that are going to be, like we've just talked about, connected to the government, but also supporting of the arts. These individuals are going to be called fat people. Now, it isn't necessarily to do with being obese or whatever. It's more about the fact, A, that they can put food in their stomach, but B, there's going to be kind of this distaste for these individuals, and it feels like they are bloated on their own self-importance. So because of that, they're looked down on both by the nobility and those that are below them. The middle class is similar, I think, in a lot of ways to those that are part of the middle class today, those that are going to be shopkeepers, those that would be involved in a variety of different professions. You're going to see these individuals making money, certainly not to the same level or stature as the fat people, but these are going to be called the little people. A lot of times, those that have money, whether they would say so or not, look down on or are kind of condescending toward those that maybe have less. But the middle class, certainly below the fat people. And finally, you're going to see the wool workers. We estimate that there are going to be about 30,000 people that are going to be involved in working of the wool. Now, that might not seem like that much, but when you think about that being, let's say about 60 or so percent, maybe 55 of a city like La Mirada, it's a pretty big deal. A lot of people that are going to be involved in the production of wool. These guys are working killer hours and not getting a whole lot of money. You might say their circumstances were kind of bad. Bad joke. Moving on. As you look, the most famous family that's going to be notable in Florence is going to be the Medici. The Medicis. They're going to be the ones that are going to be probably, even looking back, the most famous coming from Florence. There's going to be a lot of different possibilities for government and leadership, but the people realize, hey, if we don't settle on a strong ruler, there's a good opportunity that they might be overrun. So they said, who could be the best fit to lead our city-state? They're going to settle on a guy by the name of Cosimo de' Medici. He's going to be involved in finance and banking in Florence. And because of that, not only did he have stature and importance, he was also really, really wealthy. And because of that, people looked to him as a leader within Florence. The style of government that he's going to choose is going to be a little bit different than what we saw in Venice, and certainly different than what we'll see in Milan as we come back on Friday. But as you look here, we're going to see this now being a Republican form of government. But like we've talked about a few different times, instead of necessarily those governmental spots being taken up by qualified people or people that had earned them, people that had worked hard to attain them, the people that are going to get the most important spots within the city-state of Florence are going to be those that are going to be either family members or puppets of Cosimo that he believes, hey, I can now control and manipulate to get done what I want to do. Those that look to control, I would say, are not necessarily very admirable. And so as you look at this guy, even though he might have a lot of money, probably is not going to be the most respectable overall. However, as we think about what Cosimo is going to do, he starts trying to put out or commission, get into place these works of art, trying to now build churches, trying to put his name on as many things around the city as he can. He's even going to build an academy or a school that is going to focus on the works of Plato. He invites people from around Italy to study, even some from north of the Alps, to come down to Florence to study the works of Plato. He is going to offer them basically a full ride, saying, we want you to be here. We want you to study. We want you to attain a new level of understanding, of wisdom, of intellect, but in return for getting an education, in return for essentially food and, room and board, we're going to require, he said, I'm going to require that you have a meal with me. It would be like somebody giving you a scholarship, but saying you had to have dinner with them, say once a week. And the way that he would then use that time was he would say, hey, tell me a little bit about what you're learning. Tell me about some of the ideas that you're kicking around. What are some of the things that you're diving into? He was trying to improve his own education through that. Now, it might be a little bit weird thinking about somebody that had a lot of money basically saying, hey, have a meal with me for his own benefit. But I think overall, students were willing to do this. They felt like this could be a trade-off. Even after Cosimo passes away, you're going to see the two subsequent versions of the Medicis continuing these policies that he had started. In fact, as you look at what they're going to do, their tight hold on Florence only has increased because those that aren't going to agree with how they're running things are just kicked out of the city state. If you don't like what we're doing, we're going to go ahead and ban you from what we're doing and the city that you've come to call home. So if you are someone else, we don't want you to live here if you're not going to be a part of the program. Overall, you're going to see Florence becoming one of the most beautiful and important city-states within the whole of Italy. One of the most significant things that they're going to build is one of the churches that you could still go see today. Some of our students have taken the Europe trip, and maybe some of you will want to do that during your time at Whittier Christian. But as you look at the opportunity to go to Florence, the building that you would be looking for is called the Duomo. The Duomo is going to stand above, and even today you're going to see that being a significant structure within Florence. Here it is right here, obviously standing head and shoulders above the rest of the city. And even just to think about being able to see something of that size and grandeur, pretty amazing. In fact, I believe that you can go climb to the top there. In fact, I think a number of our students have taken this just incredible staircase, number of steps to get up there. They oftentimes talk about being exhausted by the time that they reach the top, but they've said, the view from the top is unbeatable. It's just incredible to look down those red tile roofs and think about the lives that have come through Florence. It's pretty incredible. Well, hey, we'll come back for part 2. We're going to talk about one of the guys who starts kind of some rumblings within the city-state of Florence, and then we'll be wrapped up for today. Have a great afternoon, and we'll see you with part 2. Bye-bye.